What's up, guys? Charlie here. Welcome back to Conquering Kerbal Space Program. Oh man, the response to having another game on the channel was actually pretty cool. I really like the encouragement for the most part. It was great. So yeah, I think I will continue to play Prison Architect as well, just for the time being. I'm not sure what the goal is on that, but like, cool. I'm totally cool with that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then chances are you either haven't seen the last episode or you didn't watch until the last couple of minutes of the last episode. But essentially, I started another game on the channel, and for those of you who are worried, it is not replacing KSP at all. It's just that like Kerbal Space Program takes like 3 to 5 hours for every episode, including the one you're watching right now, for me to record and also to get everything organized and maybe plan for, and then do the mission and then edit it later and deal with the frame rates and all that stuff. To where like Prison Architect, I mean, I play it in real time and then there's barely any editing at all and then upload. It's really easy. So it's not going to replace this series. This is still going to be the primary on this channel by far, so don't worry about that. We're gonna put a base on every single planet still. I just wanted to get my feet wet into something else. Okay, so what I've been trying to do here with our scimitar is with the PII scimitar. This is not actually called a scimitar, but that's just the name of our plane. And what I've been trying to do is reconfigure this so that it is an unmanned vessel, and get it to where maybe like there's no cockpit here, and then there's just a big gas tank that's very similar to this, and there is a part that looks exactly like this cockpit, except there's no windows, and it holds fuel, which I thought was absolutely perfect. It's like, oh man, it was meant to be. Well, it's not meant to be apparently, because as soon as I take this cockpit off of this plane, for whatever reason, none of my control surfaces work anymore. I mean, I have total control of the plane. I can activate the engines and stage it properly, and I can pull up, and when I pull up, it kind of wants to pull up. They kind of move a little bit, but they don't move. None of the wrong button. None of these control surfaces here respond to my commands, respond to my WASD keys at all. None of them do, and these don't respond much either. If I remove this cockpit, I don't know what that's all about, but like I can't get off the runway if I remove this cockpit. So for now, we're gonna be taking this flight with crew again. I'm only gonna take Gillock Kerman. I'm only gonna take one pilot. It would be unfortunate if we lost Gillock, but I don't wanna lose multiple Kerbals, so the minimum is just him. And actually, I'll tell you the truth, I mean, I have the drone core installed, so I really don't need him on the plane, actually, so let's get rid of him. So this will be an unmanned flight still, but I won't be able to take advantage of like this extra space that could be used for fuel, which is unfortunate because today we're gonna be taking up the big load. This is the load that this plane was built for, all right? This is the 62-ton payload, 2 cyclotrons in one flight. This is the whole point of building this plane, is so that I can take 2 of these in one flight and not have to deal with a $300,000 or $400,000 rocket to have enough power to boost it up there and maneuver it around. Now, there's no reaction wheels or anything like this on this, so the tug is going to have to do all of the work here. The idea here is to get up near the station and dock with the station. We're going to be docking with it. Here's the if you haven't seen it already, we have a docking port here on the front, and we have docking ports on the station now that are this size, so we can dock to the station. I'm gonna have to approach it from the right side and get it in the right position, but we can do it. We're gonna dock to the station, and we're gonna probably have to refuel a little bit at the station too, because I might be out of fuel. We might be on monopropellant only after a while, so we'll see. 62 tons right here. Each of these are 30 tons apiece. You can see if I stop clicking the wrong click, you can see in the details here, 30,000 kilograms for the cyclotron, and we have 2 of them, that's 60,000. The combined weight of all of these little docking ports and these little ports here and here, the combined weight of all that stuff is just under 2 tons. And then we also have the batteries and like stuff like that. And I'm actually going to, just to make sure we have enough monopropellant on this flight, I'm going to take Thunderhawk cockpit. No, not the Thunderhawk. Oh, I wanted to see monopropellant. Yeah, okay, so 260 monopropellant inside the cockpit. We're gonna add more. So fuel tanks, let's do I think I want the little cylinders. Where are they? Right down here. Yeah, these pressurized tanks. Maybe these ones. Yeah, this will work. So we're gonna take, I'm just gonna come right down in here. If I can get that right there. Oh, almost. And there. Let's flip this up and we'll go symmetry. And we're gonna put 2 of these monopropellants like that. As long as it's not sticking out the side, I'm all right with it. Good. Yep. Okay, so there's our monopropellant supply. Now you've also maybe noticed I've added some parachutes back here as well. So we've got a couple of parachutes here, a couple of parachutes here, and a couple up here as well, right behind the drone core. And the hope here is that if this whole thing comes apart for some reason and the whole thing just, you know, gets ripped apart in the atmosphere and we're left with just a cockpit, we'll still be able to pop chutes and save it. That's the idea anyway. That's what I'm hoping anyway, so we'll see. That would be in the situation where we had a pilot. I'm not entirely sure how that will work with the unmanned, because I'm not sure we'll be able to control it with the unmanned. So maybe what I'll do, because I'm not sure if this antenna will break. It depends on the conditions for which this comes apart, whether or not this antenna breaks. So like, I'm not sure if that will happen. But in the event that it does, I guess I probably should have a contingency and have this here. And maybe just put it next to it. Like maybe built in like that. Yeah, and then get it to be its. That way this one I know won't break in the atmosphere, so we'll just have that one kind of sitting there like that. Yeah, that's such a contingency. Okay, so I think we're ready to fly. Super heavy load here. Here we go. Let's take and launch this. I have switched the engines. You may have also noticed. I've switched the engines. These are no longer the Maverick Vs. These are now the mainsails. The reason being the mainsails have a slightly higher ISP than the Maverick V in the atmosphere. They're not as good out of the atmosphere, but I've come to the conclusion that we'll most likely be almost out of rocket fuel anyway by the time that really matters. So we're gonna have the better ISP in the atmosphere. And on top of the better ISP in the atmosphere, they also have 100 kilonewtons each more thrust. So we should be more effective as well. At least that's what I'm hoping. Yeah. Also, I wanted to do these parachutes here were to help us land. They're not necessary, I don't think. Like, not this many anyway. And so I'm gonna have 6 of them on the back here. And then I'm going to copy this. And actually, you know what? Probably having these parachutes up in the cockpit, if I can open the cargo bay and release them, then this should bring the front end up anyway. So maybe it's not important to do that. Yeah, I'll leave it just the way it is. So we'll have 3 parachutes in the back each. Well, 6 parachutes on the back. Center of mass and center of lift, real quick. Yep, we're fine. This has a little bit difficult time taking off because the center of mass is just a little bit too far ahead of the wheels. Just a tad. But there's nothing I can do about that. The cargo is just simply that big and simply that heavy. And I've added the monopropellant tanks in the front here, so that's just the way it's gonna have to be. Yeah. Do I want any more monopropellant tanks? I kind of think maybe actually, or monopropellant thrusters. I'm kind of thinking actually to put 2 kind of like up in here on the side here. Not sure if that's something I should do, but I'm gonna give that a shot and see what that does for my ability to rotate and move around in space. I don't know. All right, I'm ready. Let's go ahead and save and let's fly. Okay, welcome to the launch pad. Which is actually not a launch pad at all. It's a runway. Yeah. Okay. Let's pre-flight check here. Let's make sure this liquid fuel is inaccessible and make sure this one is inaccessible. We also want to make sure that actually that's pretty much it. SAS on, throttles up. There's no pilot, so I guess we're all remote here. go ahead and activate the engine. We have the brakes on. We want the engines to kind of charge up a bit. You can see the amount of thrust they have is climbing. Kind of want them to charge up a little bit before we start heading really seriously down the runway. And we get it to about 5 meters per second, and I release the brakes. All right, so this is the big payload. This is the one that this plane was built to do, and it means it's also the hardest one because it's the most weight. It's the maximum amount of load that I've been able to get to space with this, so if it can carry more, I haven't tested it, but yeah, so we have to kind of be precise with our execution and our flight here. So we're going to be basically, these are the mainsails are stage 2. Yep, they are. Yeah, I wasn't sure about the staging there. So let's go ahead, and at about 75 meters per second, I'm going to hit the mainsail. 75 meters per second, right about now. So we'll hit the mainsail. We'll get ourselves up to about a 160. I think we need about 160 before we can actually lift off. I think. It's going to be close. Let's pick our nose up. Pick our nose up. There we go. Oh, come on. Shut the engine off. Let's pick up the landing gear. And now we can fly. Oh man, such a heavy plane, man. And we are gonna fly up like this. Hopefully pretty steady. I don't think there's any reason why it won't be steady. And we're gonna climb up this. It's a very slow climb with this payload. We need to prioritize vertical speed. Sorry, horizontal speed more than vertical ascent. But, like, low in the atmosphere like this, we need to also, we need to get up into the thinner atmosphere. So once the plane gets up to about 13K or so, I'm gonna flatten it out and essentially just fly straight. Essentially fly flat until we're up to a decent speed, about 750 or so meters per second surface speed. And at that point, then we can start climbing. And so we're gonna try to get up basically to the altitude where the thrust from the Valkyrie engines reaches its maximum with the least amount of wind resistance or air resistance. That's the point. That's the goal. So we're only 1,000 meters up right now. We're not that high, but that's okay. This is a slow climb, playing a slow game. We do need to climb a little bit higher than this, or a little bit faster than this. So let's angle ourselves up just a tad bit more. And I will see you when we get up a little bit higher, I guess. Okay, we're way up above the clouds now. And you can see that the engines have a thrust that's over 1,000 kilonewtons each. And that's what we want. We want a lot of thrust. We want to find out where this maximum is. And once we find that, that's when we're going to flatline. And I think we're going to kind of start to flatline right now and really start to work on our horizontal speed. So I'm just going to kind of bring the nose down a little bit. Stay a little bit around 10 degrees-ish or so. A little bit under that. And really get these engines pumping. Really get them up to really high here. We want to get the speed really fast before we start thinking about going up up into the atmosphere here a little bit. We're getting our nose a little bit too far down now. Our velocity vector is starting to level out, and we don't want that. We do want to keep climbing, we just don't want to climb very fast. We want to prioritize speed over height right now. So you can see the engines are starting to finally start to work their way down now. That's how I know we're near the maximum of where we can be. So I want to make sure we stick around this altitude for speed, for acceleration's sake. I want to stick around this altitude as much as possible, as fast as, or as long as possible, to get our speed up. All right, so we're starting to, our thrust is starting to drop pretty good now. We're getting up high enough to where we are kind of starting to lose that advantage with these engines a little bit. And our surface speed is rocking though. We're up almost 750 meters per second. That's the goal. The orbital speed is 900 or so. If we can get our orbital speed to over 1,000 before we engage the rockets, we're in good shape. But I do want to also have our height, our apoapsis above 20K. before that happens too. And so now I'm going to start prioritizing a little bit more on raising the altitude. Just a little bit more, because I do need to get my altitude up higher. And then we'll punch it, and hopefully good things happen. That's pretty much all I got to say. Hopefully good things happen. You'll notice also that the RemoteTech area here says local control rather than a delay and everything. And that's probably because this drone core is not integrated into RemoteTech. And so we get, that's kind of what happens. If you're using modded parts and the modded parts are not integrated into RemoteTech, they don't have the code or whatever it's necessary for them to work with RemoteTech as the mod, then you'll start getting local control instead of a delay. So I'm not going to say that that's necessarily cheap or anything, because one, I could have a pilot in here, I just chose not to. But two, I have a legitimate network established already that would easily be able to communicate with this anyway, so not that big of a deal. Okay, we're starting to lose our thrust a lot now. Our apoapsis is getting close to 20. It may not get there. I'm gonna have to raise this up, and I think I might have to kick the engine on a little bit prematurely. But we have some pretty good orbital speed here, so I'm hoping it won't be that big of an issue. Let's get our nose raised up. Let's get ourselves really prioritizing raising our apoapsis up now. We're gonna commit to getting into space now instead of the speed. So our orbital speed is gonna drop just a little bit because of this, but our apoapsis is gonna raise. That's what we want. We want the apoapsis up, and I think we're pretty much good. Let's flatten out a little bit. Make sure we preserve that speed a bit more. Oh yeah, we're rocking fine. Long as possible. As long as we're not slowing down, I'm gonna keep these engines on. But it looks like we're starting to get... Yeah, I think it's time, guys. I think it's time. Let's do it. Mainsail's on. We're getting our speed up. Get up to about 1,000 meters per second. And then we're gonna nose ourselves up. So let's nose up. Didn't quite get to the 1,000 beforehand, but whatever. I think it'll probably be all right still. We got close enough, I think. And these mainsails need to take us to orbit, or need to take us to space at least. They don't necessarily have to get us completely in orbit, but they do need to get us out into space pretty high. Yeah, for sure. They need to get us really high. I'm all right with going too high. I'm all right with, like, you know, if our apoapsis ends up as like 200 kilometers, I'm all right with that, because the rendezvous with the station is just going to be a home and transfer anyway. And the higher I am, the more effect the nuclear engines will get when they accelerate us later. So it looks like the engines are a little bit, pretty much getting down to around 100 kilonewtons of thrust. I'm going to leave them on as long as I can, and then I'm going to shut down the air intakes. We're going to close the air intakes right about now, I think. Let's start that close. We'll go ahead and close them. So they're closed now. That's going to cut the engine's air supply off to almost nothing now. And we're going to get ourselves raising up. So there we go. Valkyrie engines are off. We're only on mainsails now. Let's turn on the access to this fuel in case it needs it. And our wings are a little bit tilted. Doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Up we go! Come on, mainsails! Apoapsis 90K. Still holding strong. Getting a little bit too hot here. I'm gonna watch this. Gotta watch that. That's getting really hot. Let's tilt our nose up a little bit. We want to take some of the heat off of that. 120K. And I think 130. Okay, that's good. We're gonna be 130K. That's good. So, you know, I mean, like, that's not bad. 219 meters per second is, wow. Let's hold on. We got to nose back down. You know, I mean, we're a little bit too high. We are definitely too high. But, you know, we're gonna have, I think, adequate ability to fix that. So, let's activate access to this fuel. Not quite yet, actually. Let's actually disengage the mainsail. No, I should actually keep that on. But we're gonna turn on the nuclear engines. And now we are in space. Whoop. Oh, come on. We're in space. Let's get the solar panels out. Okay. Let's get ourselves nose down, and I want to make a maneuver here. And I want to say circularize. Now, I'm not really interested in circularizing, but I'm going to put circularize just so I can get an idea. Okay, so 339.2 meters per second is what we're going to need. We've got 219 meters per second in the tank. If I activate this tank and give access to this fuel, then we'll have 563, more than enough to get ourselves into orbit and rendezvous with the station. So we did it, guys. We're gonna be all right. You gotta do that pretty precise. You gotta really wait until the last possible minute to make it happen. But once you do, it's all good once you do. I'm gonna actually get rid of access to this fuel. I'm gonna cut that down. Whatever. Let's leave it on. I can always move fuel around later, so not a big deal. Yep, there's oxidizer and liquid fuel in here. There's liquid fuel, but not a whole lot of oxidizer. Is this our only supply of oxidizer then? It is. So this is our last, yep, this is the last supply of oxidizer we have, is in this tank. So I can watch this to know when the rockets are gonna be like gone. But I really need to get my nose pointed to the maneuver. I mean, the node isn't for another 3 minutes, so it's not a huge deal. I'm not gonna waste the monopropellant. I'm just gonna move the nose down with the reaction wheels and get ourselves pointed to the maneuver, and we'll be good to go. Let's actually just tell this flight computer to do it. Why not? No reason to do it myself. This is an unmanned craft after all. Computers are controlling it anyway. So we'll just have the computer do it. I could say computer should activate the node or the computer should execute the maneuver, but I'm gonna do it myself, so. Because there's gonna be a sort of a power shift here. And I wanna be prepared for it if I can be, so. All right, I think I'm gonna punch it when we get to about 120. That's gonna get rid of, that's gonna increase our speed by quite a bit, and it's gonna burn quite a bit. I'm actually going to, you know, I'm gonna get rid of this fuel for a second. So we're gonna have 219 meters per second available. We need 339, which means about 100 meters per second or so are gonna need to be burned from just the nuclear engines. And this is a huge payload. So we're gonna burn the mainsail way early. And by way early, I'm thinking like right now. So let's just do it now. Cut access to this fuel temporarily. Okay, so that's it. The oxidizer is spent, and now we need to burn for 5 minutes. Looks like, Jesus. So yeah, we have a lot of burning to do with the nuclear engines, and that's why we do it way early, because like we're gonna have to spend a lot of time burning with these nuclear engines. So. The rendezvous with the station won't take much resources as far as our fuel goes. And if we need to resupply with fuel, if we need to refuel at the station, there is some fuel left over at the station. If we don't need to refuel, then cool. But I think we will, just because I want the weight in the front. So that, and I might need to actually use some fuel to actually fly when we're in the atmosphere. But I'm not really concerned about that. I can slow ourselves down to the point where our parachutes can land us safely without needing to worry about it if I need to. So it's okay. I don't require landing at the runway. I just require that we land all in one piece. So, and if we don't land in one piece for whatever reason, it's all unmanned. There's no Kerbals at risk here. The worst that can happen is we lose 300 grand because we blew up the plane. You know, which honestly, it would have costed almost that much, I think, to get this up there with the rockets. We would have been able to recover the lower stages with parachutes, but it would have cost us about that much with rockets anyway. So I don't think it's that big of a loss. It's the fact that we don't have a Kerbal in here. That's pretty much what's making me like a lot more comfortable with this now. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut the flight computer down here, or get rid of the maneuver now. And we don't need the maneuver on anymore because we are in orbit. See the periapsis? It is 71K now and climbing. I'm gonna get this to about, let's say 100. I think 100 is probably appropriate. But after that, it's all about the maneuver to get to the station. So we're in orbit now, no big deal. We made it, we're in space, ha ha ha, 62 tons in orbit. But I am going to get a little bit faster, get up a little bit higher. We're up pretty close to the, we haven't actually reached our apoapsis yet. Look at that, we did all this before we got to the apoapsis. Super cool, I think. So it turns out like I'm not going to be able to really rendezvous with this thing very well, at least not within the fuel constraints that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of have to sacrifice a bit of time, but that's okay because like I said, it's an unmanned craft. It can stay in space forever for all I care. And we have a lot of time. If you look at Kerbal Alarm Clock, we have quite a bit of time until any of our like real stuff that becomes a concern. So not really worried about that either. So we're gonna burn this little 14.6 meter per second burn. It's gonna be 22 seconds to take this. That's gonna put us to just under 200 meters per second. But what it's gonna do is it's gonna raise my periapsis up to where it's above the station as well, so that I'm always above the station, and therefore the station will eventually catch up to me. It might take like, I don't know, a month to rendezvous with the station, but yeah, basically I got really excited about this flight, and I didn't wait for the station to be in the right position before taking off. I just kind of said, let's do it. And that's, yeah, knowing for the future, that's kind of something we need to pay attention to, especially with a plane, I guess. So we're looking at the node right now. Let's go ahead and time accelerate to the prograde, or time accelerate to the maneuver, and we'll take care of this. And we have 199 meters per second left over. Periapsis is 130K, almost 131K, and apoapsis is 139K. So the station should be going faster relative to the planet's rotation. It should be rotating around the planet faster. Not total speed. We're going faster than the station, but like we've said in previous videos, its relative orbital speed is higher. So it's able to go around the planet faster in less time, and therefore it will catch up to us. So I'm just gonna go on 3 times time acceleration because I know it's gonna take a while, and I'll play around with maneuver nodes and see what it's gonna take. So I'll be right back. Okay, we're getting close to our maneuver time now, and there it is. Delete and close. Cool. 3 minutes till the maneuver. It's gonna be a 15-second burn. 10.4 meters per second is all we need to do. The station is right here, and there's us. So not a whole lot of separation. We just need to burn enough to where, and I noticed my incline was, obviously there's a 0.65 degree incline here as well. So we do need to do just a tad bit radial to get closer to it, and that's all we're doing. So. And there's the station, just 33 kilometers away from us. We're gonna slow ourselves down enough to where gravity will pull us in, a little bit closer to the planet, and that will meet up at the right timing to meet up with this. Oh yeah. Imagine having to do all this orbital mechanics stuff, like calculating exactly when you need to do it and at what speed, and like imagine having to do all of that but without like KSP's stuff helping me. I wouldn't be playing this game. Let's just put it that way. they've managed to make fairly true to life orbital mechanics. Fair enough for a game anyway. And very like spot on as far as the game is, as far as gaming is concerned, as video games is concerned. Like these guys are spot on. I'm really excited about having this science equipment on the station. I want to see like station science as a mod. I feel like it's just super fascinating, and I'd really like to get it up and running. We're gonna need a lot more scientists to do this though. So we're probably gonna need to hire some scientists because we're gonna have so much science to do on the station. I'm wondering if you need, like, is there a particular role that the Kerbals need to play in order to like participate with the USI colonization mod in terms of its life support supply? Like, do I need scientists to do the agroponics? Or can I just have pilots? Because I have enough pilots to do whatever I want. Like, I don't need the pilots. I can put the pilots on the station. But like, can anybody do the tasks for life support, or is it only for certain people? I'm gonna have to look into that because I don't know. I think scientists are the only ones that can do certain roles, and engineers are the only ones that can do certain roles with some of these modded parts. But I'm not sure if the life support stuff is like included in that. So we're gonna be in nighttime. Looks like 6. Okay, let's speed it up just a little bit more. All right, so the game was glitching out right there because I was trying to, like, I was getting within 2 kilometers of the station in like fast time acceleration, and yeah, it had to load all the physics with the time acceleration and everything. It's just, yeah, it didn't work that well. So we are now fully loaded with the physics for both the station and the ship. You can see the frame rate we have now. Well, you probably can't, but like if I get really close to this, you can't really see it that well, but it's okay. I'm gonna probably accelerate through this anyway, or at least skip ahead at least. I do like doing the real-time commentary. I like the real-time more than the post. I do. Some people like the post more, I don't know. So if I can just maybe skip ahead in the video and still keep talking rather than I don't know, it's cool. We're probably gonna do this post commentary because we're near the station, and it's more interesting that way. So why don't I just stop talking and assume that I'm gonna do that now? Okay. And so begins one of the most difficult docking procedures I've ever had to do. Yeah, I mean, you guys have all seen rendezvous before. I'm just gonna cancel out my velocity here and then approach the station. And it's one of the most complex because of the size of my vessel and also the proximity, I'll say, to the modules that are on the station. I basically have to look at the station and go, okay, where's the port that I'm gonna be docking to? And I have to sort of choose one that's fairly convenient for the plane. And it's this little one right here on the side, and I'm going, oh no, my stuff that's all inflated, it's all in the way. So I have to actually collapse this stuff because I don't want to run into it, I don't want to break it or anything. So I move the crew to other places, and then I collapse those things so that I can get this giant plane close to the station. And I must say, look at this. This is a beautiful shot, a beautiful game. Like, every time I play KSP and I've got these visual enhancements, it's just a joy. I want to just kind of chill and just sit back and just look at things because it's just so beautiful like that. But anyway, so we've got this docking port on the front of the plane, and we've got this docking port on the station, and the plane is considerably, you can really see the scale of this plane and just how big this plane really is, because like next to the station, it's pretty massive. But I need to get the little tiny docking port on my nose to be the little tiny docking port right there, because it's one of the only ones on the station that are this size. And with a vessel this big, you really have to be super precise. So I've got my camera focus on the nose so I can better see the I guess the port. I've got the velocity indicators and stuff on my nav ball, and normally you'd say, okay, well, let the magnet do its work. Well, these little tiny magnets can't really do a whole lot with this giant vessel. It's just enough to where if I'm traveling slow enough when I approach it, my nose will kind of stay in the right location. It'll kind of stay in the right place, but the craft itself is not going to dock. So I shut off the RCS thrusters, everything except the very back ones. And then I start to, and for whatever reason, these two up here, like you can kind of see that not just the very back ones are firing. For whatever reason, that one will not shut off. It just doesn't obey what I want it to do. But anyway, I'm trying to get the RCS to lift the back end up without lifting the whole thing up, and hopefully try to get myself lined up to where I'm perfectly, I guess, symmetrical to where I need to be for the docking ports to actually clamp. Basically, in like a real life scenario, I need to match it up perfectly. And then once that happens, magic, you know, like once we get there, it finally starts to work. And just like that, we are docked. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. We've got the, we've got the payload here. I'm going to open up the cargo bays. I could have just hit 9 on my keyboard for my action group, but I wasn't sure if my action groups would work when I'm actually like docked to the station. So I went ahead and just did it with the mouse. These two things here need to go to the other side of the station, and we're going to have to use a tug to do it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and get that taken care of, and then try to get back to Kerbin. Without blowing ourselves up and without, you know, going nuts with backwards and all sorts of things. Well, let's see if we can actually enter with this space plane and land. Let's see if we can do that. It's an unmanned vessel, so there's no risk of life. So join me for the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.